let's carry on. I was going to give an example here of interpretation. You know, you asked a question. You know, there's a hadith where the Prophet ﷺ says, the believer eats from one stomach and the disbeliever eats from 7 stomachs. Have you come across that? The believer eats from one stomach and the disbeliever eats from 7 stomachs. You come across that? Yeah? No? Yes? Hands up if you have, please, just so I know.
I heard it.
You just heard it, don't worry, just heard it. Okay, few of you. Right? So, what does that mean? What does it mean that, you know, it can mean, you can say the Prophet is speaking rhetorically, right? That non-Muslims eat more than the Muslims, right? But that's not true. Many of the scholars have said in their commentaries, this is not true, right? In fact, we've seen that many people convert and they eat the same thing, right? The scholars send this, you know, I can't remember, Ibn Hajar, I believe, many of them actually, you know, because I researched this issue. So it can't be a metaphoric thing, really, because it doesn't make sense. So many of them kind of were thinking, how does this fit? And I thought, look, okay, let me look. So I traced the hadith through a number of works, and I looked at Muwatta, and Muwatta is very, very good when it comes to interpretation of hadiths. Shah Waliullah Dehlawi, he said, whenever I had a problem in understanding and reconciling Sunnah, I used to go to Muwatta, and it used to solve for me a lot of problems. The Muwatta, I think, what happened is basically this. A man came, he's a non-Muslim, he comes from somewhere else to Medina, yeah? Medina. He visits the Prophet ﷺ in his house, right? So he's come from a journey, he's in the Prophet ﷺ's house. So the Prophet ﷺ, he gives him some milk, he milks the cow, right? He drinks, okay, finishes. The Prophet does it again 7 times, right? 7 times, right? Okay, khalas, right? Finished, right? Next day he comes again. This time he's a Muslim, right? Now he's a mu'min. Now again the Prophet ﷺ feeds him. He gives him some milk, he finishes, finished, right? That's it, enough, right? So the Prophet ﷺ says, Al-mu'minu ya'kulu min mi'yin wahidin wal-kafiru ya'kulu min sab'ati am'a'. This hadith that I've just told you about, right? So what's happening? Huh? He's making a joke. No, not in this case. Not in this case. He might make jokes, but not in this case. He's making a statement. What?
Describing the guy when he was a kafir, and now he's a Muslim.
Right. So what about this? Very good. You're on the right track. Huh? He's on the right track. He's on the right track. What? So what about the 7 stomachs thing? What's that?
Just describing the guy is a specific thing to a specific person.
Right.
That when this guy was a kafir, he drank 7.
He's 7. But why stomachs? Why do you say stomachs? He filled his stomach 7 times, or how come he's got 7 stomachs?
He was served 7 times when he received it.
You think it's kind of a metaphoric way of putting it, yeah? What the Prophet ﷺ is doing? He's referring to the cow. Because the Quran says that milk comes from the stomachs of the cows. What's the verse? Some of you maybe. What's the verse? The milk come from the يخرج منه لبن خالص يخرج من بطوني. Anyway, the word butun is there, yeah? The word butun, if you know, remember, just tell me. The butun, it comes from the stomachs. So immediately what people think is that the Prophet ﷺ is referring to the stomach of the kafir, right? The Prophet said he drinks from 7 stomachs, right? So what is the Prophet ﷺ? He's not giving a prophetic guidance to everybody, an aqidah point. He's not saying kafirs have 7 stomachs, mu'mins have 1 stomach. No, some kafirs are very healthy, right? More healthy than look at the Gulf. So, you know, and some mu'mins are healthy and some mu'mins are not healthy. Some kafirs are healthy. It's not that. What he's talking about is he milked 7 stomachfuls of milk for in Arabic idiom you say it comes from the stomach, right? Do you understand? So what I'm saying, do you understand? So here is a hadith. What I'm saying is that when you have a hadith, when I was talking about interpretation, look a bit further, right? Alhamdulillah, I think Allah allowed me to understand this, you know, when I really applied myself. And there's a number of hadiths, you know, I think like that, when really beautiful, the sunnah is beautiful. Another thing there, by the way, just want to mention, Imam al-Qarafi and many Imams, like Shah Waliullah Dehlawi, they mentioned that not everything the Prophet ﷺ says is him saying that thing as a Nabi. Imam Qarafi has a whole book dedicated to this, a very, very good book. Sometimes the Prophet ﷺ issues a verdict as a qadi, right? As a judge, right? And the Abu Hanifa, the Imams are aware of this, right? This is called, it comes under the topic of siyasa sharia, or the law in terms of politics, if you like, loosely translated. Sometimes the Prophet ﷺ issues advice to people, right? It's not a command. He's giving you some advice, right? And that's there. You've got it. So you've got to, as an intelligent person, you've got to understand the Prophet has different capacities when he's speaking. Here, he's speaking not as a Nabi. He's not saying that I have read the revelation, Kafir has 7 stomachs and Mu'mini have 1 stomach. He's not doing that. He's using Arabic idiom as a human being to create conversation. He's saying, you were a Mu'min yesterday, you had 7 cups and not, you were Kafir yesterday. He's just striking conversation, right? So what can happen sometimes, people can take the Sunnah of the Prophet or the something to do with the Prophet and make it into what it's not, right? So understand that the Prophet ﷺ has different roles, right? Now, another thing in relation to this, the Prophet ﷺ was an Arab. He liked certain foods, right? He didn't like dab, right? He didn't like to eat lizard. Khalid bin Walid used to like lizard. He didn't like lizard. He said, they asked him, is it because it's prohibited? He goes, no, it's just not something I eat from where I'm from. Like, for example, I don't like squid, right? Or I don't like shrimps. When I look at them, I just can't have them, right? Unless somebody's peeled them for me, right? But I just can't look at the thing itself when it's not peeled, right? I just can't do it, right? I just don't like it, right? And even they're talking about shark bait to me. I don't want to have shark bait because I'm only used to tuna and salmon and cod and that's it, right? So, or bacon shark, whatever it's called. Shark and bake, whatever. You know, so what it is, the Prophet ﷺ, you have to understand he's a human being as well, right? And sometimes he has preferences or he does certain things in his capacity as a human being, right? So for example, the clothes that he wore, which is not, you know, which is rida and izar, a cloth here and a cloth there, right? That isn't the same as shalwar kameez. It isn't the same as what the Eskimos wear. It isn't the same as what the Arabs wear today in the Gulf. He had a certain way of dressing. That is him dressing as an Arab, right? And, you know, that Shah Waliullah Dehlawi says there's 2 types of sunnah. Sunnah tashri'iyya and sunnah adiyya, right? There's a sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ which is legislative sunnah and the sunnah which is adiyya, right? So all of this, you know, you have to bear in mind, right? You have to bear in mind, you know, it's the opinion of, you know, I mean, I personally, I'll give you my opinion, but, you know, people are free to follow their own opinions. But I personally feel that people should look like their community, right? Once the Prophet, somebody came to the Prophet's mosque and he said, where is the Prophet ﷺ? He couldn't tell, right? And he said, this is the Prophet ﷺ, because he looked like, and it's, you know, when you talk about priorities, fiqh al-awlawiyat, what the biggest awlawiyah that we have today is da'wah, right? I know I can speak for my country, right? In my country, the UK, people don't generally like people dressing different to them. That's their way. They don't like it, right? If you walk and you dress differently, racism starts to increase, xenophobia starts to increase. I'm not saying that's a good characteristic, but it's just there, right? And I think it's, personally, this is my opinion, I'm just giving my opinion, and I want to give it because I want to give that different perspective, that in my opinion, it is the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ that you look like your people. Because the people, if you read the Quran continuously, the Quran is saying, every Nabi, I once gave a khutbah on this, I just took all the verses in the Quran where all the Nabi are saying, Ya qawmi, Ya qawmi, Ya qawmi, my people, my people, my people. And I said to the people in the UK, in the mosque, in the local mosque, I said, these are our people in the UK. These are our people. The Anbiya said, these were my people. Qawm Lut alayhi said, these people who are homosexual, they're my people. Yeah, my people, they're my brothers. And in fact, he offered his daughters in marriage to them. That's what he did in the Quran. Every single prophet said, Ya qawmi, Ya qawmi, Ya qawmi. These are our people, right? So we should have this mentality. So anyway, I want to quickly move on, get on to actually hadith, the hadith science bit itself. I mean, this is part of usul hadith what I'm talking about. Now, Let me find my bearings. Okay. I'm going to miss out quite a bit. Okay. Right, I was going to talk about why some problems happened after the death of the murder of Uthman by Egyptian Muslims, the fighting between Muawiyah and Ali and Aisha and Ali, and how that created some fitna, and how that led to this need to protect the Sunnah. Because what started happening is that you have political factions, you have theological factions. The Shia initially are a political faction. They split off, they're Shi'at Ali, basically the party of Ali. They're supporters of Ali from Iraq. Then the Khawarij split off from Kharaju ala Ali. They split off from Ali. They form their own political faction. Then you have the Umayyin, the Umayyad state. They have their own stronghold in the north. You have Ali in Medina. And each of these then start developing their theological positions to back up their political positions. So often politics gives rise to theology. That's what's happening, right? And what some of these people start to do is they start inventing hadith, right, to back themselves up, right? And also there's munafiqun, right, from other religions, from Persia, from people of the book. They're entering into Islam deliberately. They know they can't attack the Quran. Quran's been sealed, done. Uthman has sorted it out. We saw that yesterday, yeah? But the hadith is still open, right? So they're going for the hadith, some of these people. So the munafiqun do this, these various people do this, these new Muslims doing this. Also, there are people, by the way, who invent hadith